I thought that we were not going to get this weekend off, but it turns out they are showing reruns on the feeds because I could swear I've seen this for the last 2 weeks. While I'm glad social media can catch up to me because I do love being right, and since the moment I first started talking about Big Brother on this channel 2 years ago, I have discussed that it is all production's fault as to why the game is broken, as to why the show is broken. The show would not be broken if production didn't want it to be. And so I'm glad you all can see that with this new twist, production likes big alliances because it is a lazy form to tell these stories. A big alliance year after year. Yes, this is how the game is played because we can edit the show the exact same way every season. That's why we have all of these kooky characters that we could put into confessionals and make them say things so we could edit the same way every single year. So thank you all for finally catching up to me because I've been saying for 2 years the reason that the game is broken is because production wants it to be broken. Why else would they constantly show new recruits and all these players Big Brother 16 in sequester, setting up the big alliance that was working well? This new twist makes this bad season even worse. So with this twist, we get more of the same, but the only thing that was somewhat working for this season, despite the terrible people in the cast, despite the low level of gameplay, was that the dynamics were at least somewhat complicated. There wasn't really this big dominant alliance. The whole house was just working together, similar to Big Brother 19, but that at least gave us some more complicated dynamics, more wiggle room to work. But the new twist just brings it back to the usual. The new twist is there to create a big alliance to be able to dominate for the next 3 weeks. That is what this new twist does. This new twist strangles any outsider's chances and gives the power always to the majority, because now people can just throw vetoes to get their way, to get out the same people they've been trying to get out for the first 2 weeks. So the house will just continue to go after Taylor this week, and if it's not going to be Taylor, it's probably going to be another outsider like Brittany. Brittany and Taylor and probably Indy eventually. These are going to be the outsiders that are eliminated because this is going to hurt the dynamics that were forming to possibly make the show more interesting. Is that we didn't really know where alliances stand. All this twist does is make it easy for a majority to form and be able to get out the outsiders. That's all this twist does. And I knew they were going to make this twist as basic as possible. They could have at least made it somewhat more interesting, but instead it's just going to be your duo is nominated, and if they win the veto, that duo comes down and you have to put a new duo up. So many other possibilities to make this bestie twist more interesting. I would have much preferred you have to put up one member of a duo and another member of that duo, and if one of them come down, their duo automatically has to go on the block. I think that would make for more wiggle room to play, because this makes people on their duo just want to throw things and get out their duo if there's somebody that's an outsider like Nicole and Taylor, because why would that not be the case? And then next week, most likely Nicole's just safe because she doesn't have a duo. So it gives all this incentive to want to get out the outsiders. This does nothing for anybody. And the fact that they had them just pick their own duo, that shakes nothing up. And once again, it's just something for the majority to run the game. The twist is awful. Even something crazy like both of the duos have to be nominated. Like you have to nominate 2 different duos, and one duo could come down, and then there's 4 people on the block at the end of the week. At least that would still make things a little more interesting because less people are voting, and that makes for more wiggle room on the vote. But no, Big Brother US breaks itself because production doesn't care. Production likes it this way. I asked this similar to some soap operas. Why do producers run their shows into the ground? Aren't they afraid of being fired? because then they lose their job. They have these good jobs. They're very well paid. So why do they make their show so bad that it sparks cancellation debates? I don't understand that, but they do that. And I think why Grodner and Meehan do this is because CBS is just as lazy when it comes to Big Brother. It's a cheap show to put on that you could have the same edit over and over because it's like the only competition on in the summer. And so Grodner and Meehan feel like they're never going to be fired. They could just stay lazy. And that's probably true. I genuinely think, as stupid as it is, CBS would cancel Big Brother before they replace Grodner and Meehan. And this brings even harder shit to CBS, though, so I don't understand why they continue to go along with the nonsense, because they have the Challenge USA show that replaced their show Love Island, which is now on Peacock. But the Challenge isn't doing that great in the ratings. It's eventually going to fall to the same level of ratings that Love Island was on that they just got rid of to Peacock. And a show like the Challenge USA needs a show like Big Brother to feed them players into future seasons. But looking at this cast, how are they going to feed people from this cast without a bunch of backlash from social media, or it depletes interest in the show? So why wouldn't CBS want change? I don't know, but clearly this production does not want change because they constantly want a dominant alliance to completely control the game almost all the way through. And that is what we're getting again. And sure, maybe somehow Taylor will escape this week. Maybe she'll win the veto and her and Nicole will be safe. But look at how bad they cast this show. Turner is a person that was literally at the bottom with this last vote. Turner's only real ally was Pooch, and they sent him home in a unanimous vote that Turner was the last person to find out about. So why would a player like Turner, who was clearly at the very bottom, the last to find out what was going on, want to go after other outsiders such as Taylor and Brittany, who he should know is also outsiders? This casting always casts these kinds of players, which is how we now know this is now a fact. I've been saying this is what it is for 2 years, but it was really my opinion. But now it's a fact, because how else would they cast constant people that constantly, the neon sign is showing you're at the bottom. Why not try and flip for power? But these same people never actually try and flip the house. No, they would rather go after other outsiders constantly on this show. We don't see this kind of gameplay on Survivor, so it has to be the way the show wants the show cast, right? So yes, we're on rinse and repeat where Taylor will be the target for the 3rd week in a row. Have a harder time surviving this week because of the twist doesn't help out people on the bottom. It instead only helps out people on the top, which is asinine. It's fucking asinine. But that is where we are. Might as well take the weekend off because we've seen this story play out for 2 weeks now. We're going on a 3rd. Could be a 4th week in a row if Taylor survives this week somehow. We're just watching the same shit over and over, which makes us all crazy. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It's more of the same. It's just truly the worst gameplay I've ever seen on a Big Brother season. And there's been some really bad gameplay over the past 10 seasons, and now this is like a culmination of all of that bad gameplay coming together as one. And now we have a twist that helps a majority and makes it even harder for a minority. It's insane how bad this show truly is. It's insanity. It is truly insanity. It's hard for me to grasp why a production team and a network would want their show to be this laughably bad when it could be so much better, but they do. I guess this is just broadcast television for you at this point in time. So, yeah, this is what we're getting this weekend. More of the same. Turner, who is at the very bottom, wants to nominate other people that are at the bottom. He's either going to he's going to listen to the majority, and he's going to put up probably either Michael and Brittany, who are a duo, to then try and backdoor Taylor and Nicole to get out Taylor, or he's just going to outright put up Taylor and Nicole to hope they don't win the veto and get out Taylor finally. I don't know. Maybe him talking to the guys will will get him his head in the game. I doubt it. I have no faith in these players to have a brain cell. I think that it literally makes no logical sense, the argument that the girls are making, especially Jasmine's trying to make, we got to get out Taylor this week because Taylor's the one that flipped the votes last week. So if the House still wants Taylor out, how did Taylor flip the vote? Do no thoughts come through these people's brains? Not just as players. I mean, the game IQ is at nothing. The game IQ is at 0. But not just as people. You don't want to actually think about that and how that doesn't make any possible sense, that the House still wants out Taylor, but yet she was the one to be able to flip the vote last week. It makes no sense. But does Turner have a brain cell to get that? Probably not. No. But maybe he'll surprise me. Highly doubt it. It's pretty clear from this that the only possible outsiders that will have any sort of wiggle room over these next 3 weeks will be Kyle and Michael. I think those two, at this point, I could strongly say, though they are the strongest chances of winning this game, will be Kyle and Michael, both because I think production likes them and because I think that the dynamics of the house, they're the only two that will be able to play the middle for the foreseeable future. Some long shots that my twin would be Amira and Nicole. Their heads are at least in the game. But honestly, I want to see Jasmine win this fucking game. I want to see the person with a hurt foot, a hurt ankle, that can do nothing, can't really play in all the comps, just sit on her ass all day. I think that would really show just how badly this show has finally jumped the shark. It's jumped the shark long ago, but it's so far over the shark now that if Jasmine were to win, the person that cannot do anything, it would render the entire game, the entire show, pointless. Anyway, watch Little Brother in the fall if you actually want to see players that want to play the game, and if you actually want to see players that don't have the IQ of a grape.